Do you know what day it is? I bet you'll never guess what day it is. It's a very special day, and it's a day that too often we kind of forget. But I want to read you something from 2 Corinthians 6, and let me read this here. So, as God's fellow workers, we urge you not to receive God's grace in vain, for he says, "In the time of my favor I heard you, and the day of salvation I helped you." Now listen to it. I tell you, now is the time of God's favor, and now is the day of salvation. Do you see where I'm going? Do you know what today is? Today is the day of salvation. And that is really, really important. That is why we are always postured on the wall, because this is our posture. It's the day of salvation. And because it's the day of salvation, we need to be praying for salvation. And we need to be praying for those in our community, that salvation would break forth in our neighbors, in our families, in our jobs, and in our ridings, at our local churches as well. We need to be praying in salvation, because you know what day it is? It's the day of salvation. You know, one of my pet peeves, I did a thing on pet peeves. I should do a whole thing on pet peeves. You know what? I get this often. You know, about 2 or 3 times a year, I get an email. And it goes like this, and it says, you know, Chris, the United States has a national day of prayer, and it's usually around their national prayer breakfast. They proclaim this a national day of prayer around the prayer breakfast. I want to declare to you today this. Today is the day of salvation. You know what it makes it? It's the national day of prayer. Every day is the national day of prayer. In Thessalonians we read, "Rejoice evermore, pray without ceasing, and everything give thanks." Where do we miss that we just segregate that prayer is only for a little bit time, or for special occasions, or maybe it's like Christmas? I said this to a pastor the other day. A lot of times we treat prayer as if it was a special occasion, and it is special. And what makes it so special is you get to go face to face with God. How special is that? Why on earth would you not go into his presence? We can go boldly into his presence to obtain mercy. We can go boldly. Better is one day in his courts than 1,000 elsewhere. It's so important that we are in that place of prayer. You know, I'm going to confess to you, I was at an event a little while ago, and you know what took me, my takeaway on this particular event, and it was an event full of leaders, and what was glaringly absent at this event, which was days long, was the lack of prayer. And this was a gathering of leaders, and there was no prayer to be found. Not even in the worship time, not even in the service time. It was absent, and it was glaringly absent. And let's put it this way, it was painfully absent. So I want to encourage you. Today is the day of salvation. Today is the day that we pray and we intercede on behalf of our nation, that the kingdom would come. Today is the National Day of Prayer. Tomorrow, guess what tomorrow is? The Day of Salvation. It's the National Day of Prayer. That is how we posture it. That is how, I'm so grateful for, when I go to churches to pray, to speak, I love this. You can tell the houses that pray. You can tell. Because when you go in, the worship ignites. The presence of the Lord is there. The kabod, the weighty presence is there. When you preach, the word it's so easy to preach. And those are houses that usually are houses of prayer. Those are places that are given to prayer. Those are not churches that pray, but are praying churches. You can tell the difference. And so I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you intercessors, to encourage your pastors. And I want to encourage you pastors. Today is the day of salvation. And every day is the National Day of Prayer in Canada. I'm Chris Spyberg, the director of the National House of Prayer, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.